Right. So yeah, listen, it's great to have you here. I'm sure you've had like a great week so far. How did it feel seeing the statue, the Get Out statue?
Bro, it's mental, bro.
Mm.
I can't. I'm still processing it. It's changed me. That's all I know. But I don't know what I'm changing into. But very surreal. It's like, oh wow. And the fact that it was voted by the people, it's probably the best version of it. So I feel really blessed right now. I can't lie.
Oh, that's amazing, man. People love you, bro. You know, so growing up in a Ugandan household, how did your cultural background shape your perspective on storytelling? That's a hard question.
Yeah, a little bit. I would say the way that I would say is because I don't know Luganda is the language. I don't know the language, so I see that where I was at these events, like family events, and I can basically like read body language. Well, I had to. That's the only way I could see the room. Mm-hmm. So then, like, or really follow what's happening. I listen to tone or pitch, or like how people conversate. And like I know when people's talking. I know people are talking about someone. You know what I mean? Because like what you do when you say if you talk like me and you, say if you, yeah, chatting shit about you. So me and you chatting shit about you. See my man's at the front, so, like, so, boom, boom, boom. And then but don't look, yeah. And then you're like, and then you're doing that, and then you're like, da, 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 da. Whatever next you focus on is the person you was talking about. That I clocked that. So like I clocked little things that you were. So I think that's just being around that culture. But like I don't know. I think it's shaped who I am. There's things that I know that I don't know I know, and I probably as I get older I'm like, oh, that's different to others. Do you know what I'm saying? But like my mum really was on me, just like whatever I'm doing, just make sure I'm serious about it. Do you know what I'm saying? Even though if I have fun, like make sure I'm serious about it. So I think in that sense.
Did your mum support you wanting to get into acting or into film and TV?
Yeah, like it was a plumber that came to like fix my mum's house, and then like a school teacher said, yeah, like he should get into acting because he's mad busy, and then plumber said, oh, there's Anna Shares up the road, and she was just looking for a class, and then this plumber said to give me the address, and then I signed up to it. And it was like a 4-year waiting list, and then I got into it. So she was supportive. But like as I got older, I realized she was like saying, she said to someone else, I didn't realize this at the time. She was like, I did it to get him off the streets. So on like Fridays, Saturdays, I was off. I was doing something. I was just not hanging out. Do you know what I'm saying? So really, truly, she knew that she couldn't stop me like by 13. So she made sure I did something away from. So I would always leave ends. Like, do you know what I mean? So obviously that's when certain men are getting in. You know what I mean? So it was mainly that.
Yeah, good parent, man. All right, so I know, like for me, when I was growing up, there were like key films, right, in my life as a kid that inspired me, that helped my journey into acting, into film and TV. One of them, it's my favorite movie in the world, is The Goonies, right? And then there was Flight of the Navigator and Never Ending Story. Those were films that I would watch on repeat. Do you have any key films or TV shows in your life that was the moment that you said, okay, I can do this, or I want to do this?
I have films that I love, but they were just like American films that I love, like Ocean's 11. I didn't think that it was possible. Like I just went there for my birthday, innit? So then like, and then I was like Batman and Robin, and that wasn't really like, I don't know. I didn't really. The American cinema felt like a different planet, so I couldn't really relate to that as a kind of catalyst to make me believe. So a lot of it was British stuff, and it wasn't like really like, it was like, so. Remember the show Out of Control, Dominic Savage. Do you know what I mean? I remember that was the talk of the school next day. And I remember, I don't know, it just stuck with me. That's why when I see Dominic, I go, yo, that just really stuck with me. And I'll be real, bro, it's Bullet Boy was a big one for me. Like, so obviously I went to school with Luke. Like, he was in my school. He was a year below me. So it was that I had a connection. So I was like, I'd see him, he just disappeared from school for like months. Then he came back with a shape up. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, all right, he's got money. Like. He was in year 8. No one was getting shape ups in year 8 like that. But and then the film came out, and then obviously I was keen in it, and then you was in it. Do you know what I'm saying? And obviously I knew you from So Solid, and I think when it was the moment that I believed it could happen, I was in Sainsbury's. I remember I was in Sainsbury's, and I looked at the times, because I'd say, you know, sometimes you just look at the magazine rack, you ain't buying anything. But I was looking, yeah, and then you was on the front cover. And I was like, oh, he looks like me. He feels like me. And I think I was getting into acting around that time. It was like, I can. Simple as. It's never like a transformative moment. It was just a thing where like, if he can, I can.
Yeah, it's a little conversation with yourself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, so I'll be real. Is you in your work is what really like gave me the kind of like belief, in the sense that like not only that.
Bro, you need to stop that now, because people are gonna think that I made you say this, and I didn't.
No,
I didn't.
No, I wouldn't. You know, I wouldn't. Bro. But no, it's like, but I think it's just that like, no, but I'm being real, bro. Like, you deserve that, man. I think like in the industry, I think that people sideline you. They're not really taking in your craft and your work and how hard it is to do what you've done. Like I'm really adamant. I've seen your career, like I proper study unit, so I've seen it and I said, I'll be real, like, because you make mistakes in your life, yeah. You get defined by your mistakes, especially if you're black. You never get defined by your like work if you've made a mistake. So I don't like that they do that with Ash. I can't lie, all them Guardian people that I don't like that. So then like.
You heard it here, you people.
I don't like it.
Fix up.
No, but it's like, and then I feel like you've inspired a generation to go, you can, and that's what you've done for me. And I'll be real. That's just what I feel like.
Love for that, man. I do appreciate that. It's good to hear those things. Yeah, you can clap. It's all good. All right. Look, so that was a little warm up. What I want to do is get into some clips and some highlights from your career, and we're gonna start with Skin. So we'll watch the clip, and then we'll have a little conversation about it after. So here's a clip from Skins.
I can't. Can I?
So that was an amazing scene. I had to go through all these like shows and films, right, and pick out clips. And I wanted to get a clip from Skins because when I met you and we first spoke, you were writing on Skin. You were in it, but you talking about writing on it, right? And that fascinated me for someone so young, you know what I mean, with a show that was so big. So I wanted to pull out a clip where I knew that you'd written the episode rather than just be in it. And that clip stood out to me because there's hardly any words, right? And the storyline was quite intense. You know, there's a girl that's pregnant, doesn't know if she wants to keep the baby or not. And I've felt through producing and writing that anytime I want to develop a female character in story, I lean towards a female writer. Because you feel like they're going to have a better perspective, right? How did you deal with writing that storyline? Did you seek advice? How did you?
No, I didn't really seek advice. I really empathized with where the character was coming from, and just that like being in that point in your life and you've got like life-changing decisions in front of you and people expect you to know where you want to go and you just don't. Do you know what I'm saying? And like you don't know who you're going to be, you don't know where you're coming from. So I wanted to just connect to her as a human. I wanted to bring the humanity to her, to be honest. Like, and just know that. I was 18. I didn't really know better to research. Like, I just always write from how I felt. and how I felt the character felt. So it was just this kind of, she had this impossible decision, and like it was just about like at that point where wanting to make the right decision, but every person you choose to tell is the wrong person to tell. And then that knocking in your confidence in like your decision making, the confidence of decision making, and that's kind of how it felt, the episode to me. And yeah, like, and her feeling alone and like kind of lost in her group of friends and lost in her relationship and lost in her family, and then having to like come back and like and still have to like do her A-levels. You know what I mean? In the midst of all of it, when she's trying to pick her future, trying to see if she's gonna start a family. I don't know. I just resonated with that. I felt like I was 18 at the time and just was like, I felt like I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and everyone thought like I was supposed to know now. Like no one's told me. Like I don't know what I'm doing. Like
no one gave you the manual.
No one gave you the manual. You're just like, so I really, that really resonated with me. And then and yeah, I'm really appreciative of Brian Elsley like for giving me that opportunity at such a young age. The older I get, the more surreal I see that experience is. And yeah, like it was stuff. And then also like because I was in a writer's room since the beginning, you've seen the characters grow. So that was the second series. So I felt like I knew her. I knew where she was coming from, and I felt like I had a kind of a take on what I felt like she needed in the first series. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I wanted to give that in the second series.
No, makes sense. So yeah, it was a side question from that. Really was like, just in general, having that writing experience early on in your career, how has that affected your acting? Has it improved you, would you say? Does it help you to make better decisions when it comes to reading scripts and stuff?
I think what happened was being in that Skins writers room. Like I was in the Skins writers room and they were like, "What's my favorite shows?" And I'm like, "The Wayans Brothers, like Fresh Prince." Like I ain't watching this highbrow thing that you lot are watching. Like they were like showing me all these like, and I think I got an education at like 17, 18 of like storytelling from like now they're great storytellers. Like Jack Foreman's in that room, Ben Schiffer was in that room, Lucy Kirkwood is in that room. These are writers, and they were showing me material that I was like, oh wow, I would never see this. And it was like, I love it, but it was also would never be marketed to me. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I realized as well. And then so I was like taking in like Arrested Development or like Shameless or like all these different shows. I was like, wow, the thick of it. And all these shows, I was like, oh wow, I didn't even know this is really good. And then it made me, and I think during that process, Brian really taught us what the fundamentals of a story is, what makes a great story, what's worthy of telling. And I think I take that with me in how I decide. And I just don't compromise. Like I go, would I want to watch it? Would my friends want to watch it? Would I want to read it? If I don't, leave it. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think I pick acting roles as a writer. Like I read it as a writer. I don't read it. I'm not looking for my role. I'm looking for what is this person? What is this? Because all I see is acting is me helping someone say something. So I go, what does this person want to say? And do I feel the same? Or and then I go, all right, cool. And then I can move forward. But that is definitely coming from the writing part and the story and the structure part and the education that I went on in Skins, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice to know some of your work behind the characters. Do you know what I mean? All right, cool. So we're going to move on. I want to go to a Black Mirror clip.
Let's hear what he has to say. Well, come on. Got our attention, as requested. What do you want to say? Have you prepared a speech? Is that it?
Speak! I haven't got a speech. I didn't plan words. I didn't even try to. I just knew I had to get here, to stand here, and I knew I wanted you to listen. To really listen, not just pull a face like you're listening, like you do the rest of the time. A face like you're feeling instead of processing. You pull a face and poke it towards this stage, and we la-dee-da, we sing and dance and tumble around, and all you see up here, it's not people. You don't see people up here, it's all fodder. And the faker the fodder is, the more you love it, because fake fodder is the only thing that works anymore. Fake fodder is all that we can stomach. Actually, not quite all. Real pain, real viciousness, that we can take. Yeah, stick a fat man up a pole and we'll laugh ourselves feral, because we've earned the right. We've done solo time, and he's slacking the scum, so ha 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 at him. Because we're so out of our minds with desperation, we don't know any better. All we know is fake fodder and buying shit. That's how we speak to each other, how we express ourselves is buying shit. Well, I have a dream. The peak of our dreams is a new hat for our doppel. A hat that doesn't exist. That's not even there. We buy shit. That's not even there. Show us something real and free and beautiful. You couldn't. Yeah? It'd break us. We're too numb for it. Our minds would choke. There's only so much wonder we can bear. That's why when you find any wonder whatsoever, you dole it out in meager portions. And only then till it's augmented and packaged and pumped through 10,000 pre-assigned filters, till it's nothing more than a meaningless series of lights while we ride day in, day out. Going where? Powering what? All tiny cells and tiny screens and bigger cells and bigger screens. And fuck you! Fuck you! That's what it boils down to, is fuck you! Fuck you for sitting there and slowly knitting things worse! Fuck you and your spotlight and your sanctimonious faces, and fuck you all for taking the one thing I ever came close to anything real about anything! But oozing around it and crushing it into a bone, into a joke. One more ugly joke in the kingdom of millions, and then fuck you! Fuck you for happening! Fuck you for me, for us, for everyone. Fuck you.
Amazing. I noticed I was watching you watching that, right? What was going through your head when you were watching it? Because I know it's something. Go on.
No, I just saw the memory of that day. Do you know what I mean? That's just there's a lot of thoughts. But I obviously, like, sometimes I was like, I'm detailed, so I'll be like, oh, they used that take where I stumbled, and then I remember the word meager. I didn't know how to say it, and then the director pulled me up, and I was like, oh man, you left the right take in there. And then I don't know, and then you kind of go, oh, I went in a place, and I remembered how like I remember after I did the speech, how like I woke up next day, like my body was fucked. I was like tense. I went through like a boxing match. Like just like how it was a lot. It was a lot. Just a lot. There was a lot of thoughts, and then I was like, oh yeah, Bashi's in this.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I think I see Ashley Thomas sitting there in the corner. No, so when I watched it for the first time, the first thing that got me from it was the rhythm. Like the cadence is like almost Shakespearean, the way you kind of delivered the speech. Was that intentional?
I didn't do it to your level. I did. I used to produce beats.
Okay.
When I was younger, like at school, when I used to sing and then I used to like, and then like my music teacher would give me extra classes to like, because she thought I could do music and then I think I pissed her off, and then she didn't give me no classes anymore. And then so then I think one of the things I went into was music. So then I think in music at times when I look at these speeches or work, so I know that if you rhythmically drop the beat, do you know what I mean? And then it can actually make people disengage. Especially you have to be really careful because it's like an escalation, but you can't peak too quick, but it's an escalation with depth and soul in it. So that's really how I kind of like wanted it to kind of like, I wanted it to feel like getting faster and faster and faster, and you think you're going to a crash. You are going to a crash, but it's not the crash that you thought you was going to. Do you know what I mean? And so that's what I kind of was like rhythmically doing with it, but it's not like it just happened. And also is how well it was written with Charlie. It had that rhythm in it, and I wanted to just honor that as well.
Okay. So I don't know if you want to debunk this. I was doing some research, right? Trying to do some research on you. I don't know why, because I could have just called you, to be fair. Yeah, but I saw something out there that said you don't like to rehearse. Is that true?
A little bit, yeah. Okay.
Could you elaborate?
So especially that scene, right? So he was like, "Do you want to do it?" I was like, "No." And I was 22. I was cocky. Then I had no right to say that, but I knew I had probably had 4 bullets. I had 4 bullets, and so if I did it in rehearsal and you didn't film it, I wasted one of the bullets. So I was just like, no, I can't. Like, and then so usually when I get on set, like I rehearse, but I don't do it because really and truly I want the room to inform. Because I got it learned to a level, like I'll learn most of it, and then I have the sides and I'm not engaging. I'm like reading and because then I want to hear what you think, and then look, maybe there's a bottle here, so then I can use the bottle and use this bit in the scene. And it's like I want the room to tell me how else I can play it. And so with that, I kind of just didn't, and then so the first take was like majority of that was the first take. So we kind of just did it, and then kind of went on one. But I try not to. Yeah, even with Judas, I didn't rehearse that. We didn't do rehearsal. The first take was the first take. So I think it makes it alive, and it makes you see more of my fear. Yeah, which sometimes I like.
100%. I think it's quite, obviously on the internet it looks quite like sensational when it's like he doesn't like to rehearse. It's like, but I straight away understood what you were trying to say, because you want to give, you give so much throughout a day, and for specific scenes, you don't want to overdo it. Like I never want to overlearn my lines before I go there, because you want to go into a room and be able to adapt when people change things.
Exactly. If a director goes, yo, I want this, and then now you've learned it in a certain way, you're stuck. Yeah. So you have to unlearn that to do that, but you've got like 10 seconds to get ready. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I just go, let me just learn it to this level, and I'm prepared. Like you can take it away from me, I'll know it. Yeah. I won't know it fully, but I'll know it. But I don't want to just like overlearn it, because I think that sometimes like it makes it less exciting for the audience, I feel, for me.
100%. Okay, cool. Well, that leads us nicely onto our next thing, because I believe that Black Mirror clip was one of the influences that got you into Get Out, right, with Jordan Peele. So let's watch a clip of Get Out. Amazing. What an amazing scene. Iconic moment, iconic performance. Hence, the sunken place, and hence the statue that's there now, right? How did it feel winning that job? And was it your first time doing something like that overseas?
It's my first lead role in a film. So just in that, like I just set a goal. I just want to lead a film. I just want to lead a film. I just want to see where I'm at, level wise. You know what I'm saying? I want that challenge. Remember, I did a play, Sucker Punch, and then I was doing that play. And you must understand, like when you do a lead role, like it's hard work. Yeah. Like it's not like it's work. And then I was just, no one told you this, and so I think I got to a point in my career like I wanted that challenge in film. I wanted to feel the work. I wanted to feel like, I'm a bit out of my depth. You know what I mean? What they say, I think it's this David Bowie quote, right? And it goes, like, when you're walking into the ocean, right? You're going into the ocean, and then, like, when your feet stop touching the floor, that's where you make the best work. You know what I mean? And that's how I kind of always try and be like. So that's what, when I got the role, I was like, wow, like, cool, like, let me just lock in. You know what I'm saying? With the American accent, like, with like my physique, like I want him to look skinny, so then when he fights at the end, you're surprised, because he's a certain kind of brother. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I'm naturally broad. So then like so there's a lot of things that I want to lock in. I want to feel like, I want people to just get lost into this world. I want to like, and then I also had a take on like him not feeling like he's in a horror film. You know what I mean? And just go, he's just a guy. Do you know what I mean? And that makes it more surprising that it ends up being like a thriller horror kind of. If I made it more real, then it would allow everything else to feel like everything heightened will feel more grounded. I felt like I was my job is to be the anchor. So yeah, it was an amazing opportunity to like try out these things that I've been thinking about. Like, I really want to get an opportunity to see if I can pull this off. You know what I mean? Also,
your American accent is like sensational. It's definitely one of the best in the game for the UK. What is your process with that? Like, because I obviously doing an American accent, all right, for a lot of people it's easy, but then you forget about, the cultural kind of nuances, the slang, new slang and stuff like that you may use if you were kind of actually from there. How do you fit all of that into what you do with accents and your characters?
Well, what I realized is like, so I started doing accent classes, and then I was like, like a lot of people teach you a white American accent. They don't even realize it. And I was like, well, I can't do this. I wouldn't play these guys. Yeah. So then I was like, no, I want black. I'm black. And then so then I realized that if I came from being British and did an American, it would sound weird. So a lot of times, what I clocked is that I needed to know who I was in America and have that as my, like, so it's easy if I was born in America, where would I be born? All right, East Coast probably, New York, Philly, round about there, and like build a general accent for that I would never use. But that's just like who I am. You know what I mean? In order for me to go regional.
Yeah.
So instead of me coming regional from England, I make an accent that's from America, and I go regional from there. So there's a base. Do you know what I mean? There's there's a core base of like this person's born here, he's got family here, he's got cousins here. This is Daniel. I'm very blessed. I've got cousins in New York, I've got cousins in Chicago. So I've been to America when I was younger. So I had a frame of reference, and obviously we grew up watching American TV. And then, but yeah, I kind of based it off that. And then I would just make sure there was certain kind of, because the people that were playing that were American were kind of like people that like clearly have been educated in a certain way. So a lot of those guys, they have an accent that they have, like all of us have an accent what you have when you get back home, and there's an accent that you have when you at work. You know what I'm saying? Or with people that you met from uni or like that sort of situation. So I wanted to have that sort of situation like that. And so really that was kind of like, and then regional I just kind of like focus in on sounds, and then I'll be real, like I'm reading so I'll read a script a day. I read a script, like say if I'm gearing up for a role, I'll read a script every day, once a day. Like if it's a month in, I'll just read a script once a day until I get sick of it. But I'm reading that in an American accent. So I'm like just practicing. If I'm reading anything, it's in an American accent out loud. So I'm practicing. When I'm on set, minute I'm in a car, accent. Accent to everyone, accent, until I rap. So when I do my speech, when we rap, I do that in an English accent, and that's when the only time people on set hear me in American English accent. So I just keep in it, in a sense, because I want to be able, if the director throws me a line, or I want to improvise something, I just can. I don't want to feel like self-conscious, because accent and acting are two different disciplines.
Yeah, of course.
Like you just learn accent so you can do your job. You know what I mean? It's a skill set. So that's really where I'm at. There's obviously more in-depth stuff that I go into, but that's like the general kind of thing that.
No, it's important. I mean, it's really important that people, I run a drama school, and students hearing stuff like that is just so important. So that's why I wanted to ask. But with Jordan Peele, how has that relationship developed? Obviously, I know you went on to do Nope together. When you kind of first went on the set, was it warm? Was it a warm set for you? Because I know, like, sometimes working with directors that you haven't worked with before, there can be like, kind of touchy relationships, or maybe in the beginning before you guys get to know each other. How was that, and how has it developed now?
Oh, yeah, it was calm. It was calm because he was in a certain place in his career. Because it's like Jordan Peele now, but he was Key and Peele then. You know what I mean? He was a sketch show guy. And I knew he made an amazing script. I was like, this is an incredible script. And I think for me, it was on set, I felt like he was just happy to be doing what he's supposed to do. Yeah. It felt like someone was like, I'm supposed to direct. I'm finally done it. I probably spent years writing the script, and I get to do it. So he was like jumping for joy. Do you know what I mean? And like we did it in 23 days. So it was a tough shoot.
23 days?
Yeah, bro, tough. Like, so then, so he had to stay very focused, but he understood actors. He's very smart in who he cast in a low budget, because everyone had improv background. He has an improv background. So he cast people with improv background. So there's a lot of improv in the film. So then, in the 23 days, like, people that do improv give you stuff for free in the edit. Do you know what I'm saying? And so, like, we would all give him things that would make scenes work, or smooth a beat over, or kind of, you know what I mean? Like, Bradley Whitford's incredible, the guy that plays the dad. Incredible improviser. So he just empowered us, and was actually very confident for a first-time director, especially under the pressures. And then, on Nope, he's Jordan Peele now. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like the budgets are bigger. That was $4 million. Nope was not $4 million. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
that's a big budget to some of us over here, Daniel.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's real though. But so he was much more. He was much calmer. But it was different sort of pressures. It was like there's a lot more like special effects, and there was a lot of things to kind of, like, I'm doing Nope and I'm looking in the sky. There's nothing in the sky. Like, so I'm doing a majority of it. 60% I'm looking at the sky. There's nothing there. Like, so you have to be really on it. So we have to be sharp in a different way. Like in Get Out, you have to be sharp in a way going. I was like, I don't want to lose the black audience. In Get Out, I don't want to lose it. And so there's little mannerisms that I do, is to kind of go in. The character's not strong enough to say anything, and he's not proud enough to say anything. However, he's registered it so he doesn't lose someone that may think he's a sellout for not saying something that is a microaggression. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of stuff. And then in Nope, it's more about like, what does that mean, and what does the alien mean, and how does it bring the fear, and how do you make the fear different in every single scene? So it just developed, and yeah, man, he's a great filmmaker, man.
Yeah, amazing. So from one great filmmaker to another, who I recently worked with, Steve McQueen. Legendary guy. I met him for the first time properly the other day. We did a PG Tips advert, and we had and we had 2 great, amazing days. He's an amazing person, very a genius, some would say. Do you know what I mean? And kind of moves like a genius, like geniuses do. This is one of the clip we're going to show you now. I have to say, I have to intro it. It's one of my favorite of yours. Like this clip from Widows, I think is so iconic and sums the way you perform up in a nutshell for me, but we'll speak about that after. All right, let's watch this clip.
Whole time caught the niggas in the back rapping. They cold, old job.
Man, it wasn't our fault. They knew what we were gonna be. That shit was a setup.
They had to be professionals or some shit.
You let Harry Rollins get away with our money.
No, that's not what I'm...
I want to hear what you were doing. Do it again.
Your music.
I'm not kidding. Do it again.
All right, let's get it. Yo, I say, what the fuck is up? This my script, get it? Yo, I say, what the fuck is up? This my script, get a couple bucks, get some rubber, that's the shit. Pick a couple up, a 30 bot with the telescope, get your hubble up, buckle up. Man, I do it for my guys. If you diss, then you gotta die. That's a simple fact, simple truth. I could never lie. Dios mío, man, if we see your hand, we chop it off. Let me see your chain. Think you got that at the shopping mall by Cinema. But a GameStop that I shop a lot. I'm shipping phones from the same spot.
Bruh. ¿De qué eres?
Amazing. Chilling. You picked up your book.
Where to read, bro?
I know that was your choice. I know.
So I was like, I'm getting a book back.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I was saying before, like the scene is like amazing for me, but what I love about it so much is just your stillness and your work off the ball. I say off the ball because I'm a football fan, right? But I think it's easier to act when you've got words and stuff to help you. When you don't have words, like when you're in a scene with someone and they're doing all the talking and you just got to react or listen or whatever, I think that's much more difficult situation. But I think you look like you feel so comfortable in that space, like holding gazes and stuff like that. Are you conscious of that yourself? And do you lean into that a lot? Because I think a lot of your work is about your expression, you know what I mean? About you sometimes not talking, just how you're reacting and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I learned that a lot from when I did Sicario and watching Benicio work. And then that was when I was like, I need lines, you get lines, I want lines. And I just saw this guy just cutting lines. And I thought he was crazy. I was like, what's he doing? Cutting. I can show you that. That's what he kept saying, I can show you that. Didn't understand what he was talking about, yeah? And then I did try it once, yeah? So I tried it, yeah? I was like, let me try it. Because he was doing nothing, and Denis was like, oh, amazing. I was like, yo, it's mad. I was like, you feel it was harder than this? I was like, and then like, then I was like, all right, cool. I had a scene, and then like Emily was supposed to talk in Spanish. I was like, no, someone was talking in Spanish, and I was supposed to understand Spanish, and I was supposed to. She was like, do you understand? I was like, yeah, and then boom, whatever. Then in the scene, like she asked me, do you understand? I went, and then like that's it. And then when it cut, and then he was like, amazing, Daniel, amazing. and then I didn't make sense. And then when I watched Sicario back, I just was so in awe of what he did, and maybe because I saw the process, I was like, well, he is making me feel something with just changing a thought in his mind. He just changed how he thinks. And then now I feel differently. And I thought that there was a bit when you first see him on the plane, and he's just thinking, and then he thinks something different. You don't even know, nothing's happened. The camera's on him, and he's thinking something, and then he thinks something else, and then we feel different. And I was like, that's incredible. But like, it's not gonna be celebrated in that same way. But I was just so inspired by it. And I realized he kind of articulated what I value in acting. Do you know what I'm saying? What I like to do. So then a lot of it, I don't know, I just kind of like always felt like, I feel like, what they say, and this is like a judgment, so I don't mean it like that, but like they say bad storytelling is 4 and good storytelling is 2 + 2. And so then that's all I want, is just like you to audiences just think what's on his mind and know what's on his mind, but the fact that you've made it up is now you're in. You know what I mean? And that's what it was. It was kind of like how I feel when a thought lands, that's the most interesting bit in the line, in any line. The line is just a product of the thought. But when you have the thought and you change your mind and you go, oh shit, and then you go and say that, that's the interesting bit. So that's why I always feel like I'm listening in the scene. And I think it comes from the improv background at Anna's, and that you just listen in order to kind of take in. So you're kind of taking someone in. But also there's another thing that happened in Sicario that changed my view on acting. I was doing a scene, and then like I had these lines. It was like very expositional. I was supposed to say something, and Josh Brolin was supposed to do something, and say it, and then he's out. Yeah. Then I was saying a line, and then I'm not trained, so I'm not great. My diction is a bit funny. So then I was doing this American accent, and I said a line, and it wasn't clear. And instead of Josh saying the next line, he just went, what? But he didn't say what as a diss. He just said what, like. And then I said it again, and then he said his line. And then we did the scene, finished the scene, and then we cut. And then I was like, that's the most incredible bit of acting I've ever seen in my life. Because he's there.
Yeah, he's in it.
He's listening.
In it, yeah.
He ain't going to just say the line just because the script says it. He's listening to me. And that changed me again. Because then it means that I think a lot of times I came into it with a performance ready. Do you know what I mean? And then it's, I know what I'm going to do, but we're doing it together. And I think that kind of like, and then that's another thing that makes me, I just come with less. It made me just take stuff out. I come with less. So then when someone's saying something so I'm really listening to that rap. So all the reactions, so he was like, if this me, then you gotta die. I'm like, that's cold. I'm gonna kill you. And you just said that. That's cold as fuck. Like, I mean, he's like, this is crazy. Like, but I know the audience doesn't realize I'm gonna kill him. They just think, oh, this is cold. But now I have a reason. But when you look back, it makes sense. Yeah. But I'm like, yeah, bro, this brother is cold. Like he's just really taking that in. And then so that's really what it is.
Did they break?
Break what?
When you were looking in their face like that, because obviously I know that they didn't know that was coming, and you were gonna be that close and stuff like that. Did they break, like laugh or?
I think they were mad. I think he stumbled a bit because I went in, but I think Steve told me to do that. Okay. He said make them uncomfortable without touching them. I said, all right, cool.
Last question, kind of on that, but more in general. Are there any specific differences for you between working here in the UK on the UK production and the States?
Yeah. I think
other than them being two different places.
Yeah, I think I'll be real. Like the health insurance thing is massive. Like, so I feel like there's a much more anxiety in America, just like because there's a lot on the line. Like here, I think there's a better work-life balance here, and when you finish, and you like the crew go to the pub, and the cast will go. Sometimes the cast will go in the pub. There's less of a hierarchy here. In America, it's a star system, and so a lot of things why I fell in love with this job is to work with a team of people, have a laugh, and have something proud of it at the end. While like I think in America, you kind of work a bit more by yourself, or work with like the director or with your cast. It's like very much cut off. And if you then move like that, like you're cool with everyone. Everyone looks at you like you're a bit weird. And but I do think the opportunities in America are incredible. Do you know what I mean? And the kind of roles and the level of writing is amazing. I'm not saying the level of writing here is bad. It's not. It's amazing as well. But it's just different ambition. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but it's there's pros and cons in both spaces. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah. This is
Cool, man. All right, so we're gonna go on to our last clip now. And this is Judas and the Black Messiah. Obviously, a great piece of work that you were involved in. So enjoy the clip, and then we'll speak a bit about it after. You know, your CV is actually crazy. It's just ridiculous, bro.
I'm blessed, cause
what an amazing film. We all know what that film went on to do, right? And we discussed a bit about how you pick your stories, etc. But was it important for you, this being historical, this being a real character or whatever, to say something, to say a message to the world as well as just enjoying what the story was about?
What do you mean?
Yeah. Meaning was one of the reasons why you picked this job because you knew how important it would be for black people as well to see.
Man. I think like every role that I do, I know that I'm stepping in a, like, you know, we got eyes on us in a different way. Do you know what I'm saying? And then I know there's like a different self-awareness that you have to have in your career in order, like, all right, cool, if I play this kind of role, what am I saying to people? You know what I mean? So I think this one was a big one, but I think mostly it was kind of like, someone said something like, I think our job is to rescue wisdom from the past. You know what I mean? And I felt like when I read this script, I was like, I didn't know this man spoke like this. I didn't know about these ideas like that. He was saying stuff that I felt, but I didn't know there were the words for. And like, so for me, it was kind of like, yeah, I want this to live. Like, I want to be part of, like, again, I want to help Shaka say this, or help Chairman Fred say this. And so then, like, that's really what it was. It was kind of like, I know what it means, and I know that there's a potential it could be entertaining at the same time. It weren't just going to be like a academic kind of film. So that was exciting to me. But yeah, I do feel like a kind of like responsible in a good way. Like kind of like, yeah, like I want to make sure that the stuff I do resonates with the people that speak to me or look at me.
Yeah, understood. All right, cool. So look, we haven't got a lot of time left, and I want to let the audience ask you some questions. So I just kind of want to wrap it up with, you know, I've noticed that more recently you've been properly taking control of your own destiny and doing a lot of work, whether it be Roundhouse, you know, or some of the screenings and stuff you put on for the youth and stuff like that. So just in general, like, what's next? What do you want to do more of? What are you leaning to now?
Definitely just, I mean, I don't know. Mostly just, I do think that I'm like writing's in my thing and directing's in my thing, producers in my thing, but it's just like kind of like, how do we move this forward? Do you know what I mean? How do we, all right, cool, we're in this position, like a generation above us, like, I've done incredible work, and like, all right, cool, we've got the baton now. Like, how fast is our time in this lab? You know what I mean? That's how I feel. Like, it's like, all right, you can do, what else can we do? Do you know what I mean? Let's not be like restricted because people think we can achieve so much. I don't even make sense. It's like, what is it that we want? Everything's made up. You know what I mean? What is it that we want to make up? That's how I feel. Like, I don't have no limits. I just want to go, all right, cool, what makes sense? How do I serve? And how do I touch people that I want to speak to? And that's really like where I'm at.
Well, Daniel, you are one of the most inspirational people that I know, man. And thank you for continually kicking down doors, you know, taking the baton and pushing that door open wider for everyone else that's coming after you, brother. Much appreciated.
I appreciate it. Is it about you being right or doing what is right? No, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? It's like if you have something in a situation, right, cool. Like, is your point coming from you being right or it being right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's how I see it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, if it's about me being right, then I got to step back and go, all right, cool. You know what? Maybe my ego's involved, and this is that and the other. Like, and a lot of it, I'll be real. Like, what helps me personally is like cinematic education. So like, actually going there, watching films, actually reading books, actually going in there, and because you may not be able to articulate why it's right, and that's why you can't get to a unified position about it. So I would say it's that, but yeah. Solo. I like. It started to obviously like the more my career develops, I'm able to get the actual process that I really want. But I really love the theatre process, and the fact that you get a month to kind of sit in it. So I try to do that in my films, like, and put myself a month before and like do a bit every day. Do you know what I'm saying? And like lock myself away. Lock myself away, to be honest. And then like kind of just keep at it and just do, all right, cool. What is it I want to know? What is that I want to know? And then go through like certain exercises that I do that go through that make me read the script differently. So I'm still reading the script every day, but I'm reading it differently, reading it with a different thing in mind. And I do so much work. I can't lie to you. Like I just go in and I think something I did actually learn from Black Mirror with Eros, the director. We did hot seating with Jess. We do this hot seating and they'll ask us questions and then answer it and trying to find a character and stuff like that. And then at the end of it, he was just like, all right, cool, forget about it. I'm like, what do you mean forget about it? I do all this work, bro. What are you talking about? And then and he was like, no, forget about it. He said, if it makes sense, it'll stick. So that's how I feel. I just go in that space and I'll read, I'll watch, I'll read. I don't have like, I'm not going, oh, I need this, I need that. It's just like I'm just taking stuff in, and then it will show up for me. Like in that speech, like certain mannerisms I just saw Chairman Fred do randomly, like probably like 2 months before, and then I'll go, oh, this is the moment. I could just use that. Oh, I can do it like this way. It's just like you do all this work, so then the work shows up for you, essentially, and that's where it gets the detail and the stuff. So it just feels considered, and it feels like it's rooted from somewhere real, as opposed to I'm trying to do a performance. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. I did a lot of it. Yeah, a lot of it was based on me. Like, and I think the way they wrote it for me and had me in mind. And then obviously the character came from where I came from and stuff. And so I had a lot of say in terms of like what like the words and where I was coming from, and that's another thing where there was a lot of rhythm. Like, because I wanted every time he spoke, it felt like he was an artist. So I wanted to feel like this kind of punk rap, kind of like he's just making a song at all times. So that would come from like conversations that we had and like where it wasn't. But I think I had to have those conversations because you don't have the script. You know what I mean? And that's the difference in voice acting. It's like a really vulnerable place because I can't do the research that I did. Like I can't do the detail that I did. You have to really like collaborate and be open. And like you have 4 different versions of the scene. You know what I mean? And you have to give to all those versions, and then you kind of go, oh, that one doesn't work, and then you go, why doesn't it work? Then we have a conversation why it doesn't work, because now like the failures is a clue. So you go, oh, like cool, this is what matters, this is what works, this is what resonates, and then it's just a consistent like process with the filmmakers, and then there's a different process, and then they're filming you, and then they kind of base it off your performance as well. So it's like you're influencing the animation, but you've seen the animation that's influencing you. It's just a completely different way of like working that I felt really got me out of my own head and made me less precious. Then made me just go, just say it, and then that. And also it was the first time I'd acted in my accent on film probably like 10 years. So then it was like that was a thing that was new, essentially, like to be in a film with my accent. You know what I mean? So it was a thing that made me grow. So it was wicked. Good question. Someone I feel that's like the most and the best I've seen is Steve McQueen, and like he kind of just trusts you, and like kind of like he kind of says it's like I'm here to set the boundaries and you do what you want. Do you know what I'm saying? Within that, do you know what I'm saying? And he kind of, so I think it's that, and I think there was one time Steve said something and I realized he understood. And he had to film, I mean, the schedule was getting tight, and he had to film something, and then we had a stunt rehearsal, and he was in the stunt rehearsal. Then I had to come back and finish off the scene that we was doing. And then when we was coming back to the scene, he was then like wanted to get download of what happened in the stunt rehearsal, and he literally just said, "Daniel, what did the room tell you?" So I was like, he knows, like he knows that thing where like the room then tells you what's gonna happen. I was like, oh yeah, it said this, and you do this, that, and the other. He understands that it's not like what I feel like a lot of directors, they feel like they have to make the performance out of you, like you are like a puppeteer. And I feel like if you think that way, you're only gonna get a certain kind of actor to collaborate with, and that won't really take your stuff to the next level. Because it's about like giving that person the space to then he was like, I would ask him questions because I was nervous on Widows, like, and he was like, I was like, what should I do? I see Viola come out. I was like, right, this is mad, like, and then I was like, oh, what should I do in this scene? And he was just like, he said, I don't know, Daniel, like, surprise me, surprise yourself. And I think that's it. It's like if you give an environment where you obviously everything's watertight, but then you allow life to happen. You know what I'm saying? Allow that kind of like spontaneity, and it's all about who you cast and how prepped you are in the script development process and all the other kind of departments to allow that joy and spontaneity to come out. Chad. It was my meeting Chad was like kind of like, it was a pivotal moment in my life because Get Out was coming out and I didn't know it was gonna do what it was gonna do. And then I remember we had a dinner after rehearsals, and then like I sat opposite him, and then like I think he could see my life was changing and I didn't know. And he leaned in and he was like, and I was about to go on a press run and I didn't have a publicist. I was like out here, you know what I'm saying? And then like, he was just like, what are you gonna say? You know what I mean? And you realize it's very rare for people to even say that point blank, let alone other actors, let alone other male actors. He leaned in and saw I needed help and I needed guidance, and I didn't know how to ask. Like genuinely didn't. Not like I was proud. I just did not know how, and he gave it without me asking, and then like kind of told me what to say, what not to say, like this. It asked me certain questions. It was like, yeah, do not ever mention that. Do this, do that, and it was like, yeah. He just kind of like big broed me, like, do you know what I'm saying? He kind of just helped me out. And then Get Out came out, and then I feel like he just was kind of like, I remember he did a speech on my birthday, and it was just so like, it was poignant, do you know what I mean? And he kind of, I just felt he really saw me, do you know what I'm saying? And he was just an incredible leader on set, and I really felt for him, because that's not easy. Doing those Marvel films, that's hard, that's work. Do you know what I'm saying? Especially if you're doing the action sequence in those suits in Atlanta hot weather, it's like hard on the body. So to know that was hard. That was one of the hard. He's probably, him and Rowan Atkinson are probably the two people that I've seen work the hardest in my own two eyes. And like, knowing that he did that whilst he was going through what he was going through is just, I don't really have the words for. But yeah, like he kind of just gave everything, and he led in a very noble way. He always brought people together. He always gave you time, even though he was going through so much. You know what I mean? And he was fighting battles that you didn't even, obviously the medical battles, but he's fighting battles that like politically, you know what I'm saying? For Black, it's not just smooth to make Black Panther happen. It's hard to like kind of articulate like a whole continent within a couple tribes and a couple, to make it, like, it's very hard work. And he managed to just do it with grace and effortlessly. And yeah, and he just always had time for everyone, and I remember him and Lupita would always just be like back and forth, and they just knew that I just didn't know my life was changing. And then they just would always help me and always have a word. And Mike as well, to be real. They would always have a word with me and kind of tell me like, and give me a couple steps and guidance along the way, like, and throughout, yeah.
Such beautiful words, man. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. it's been amazing talking to you, Daniel. I don't get to sit and talk to you like this very often, so it's been great for me, and I'm sure the audience have had a really great time. This has been BFI Film Festival Screen Talk with Daniel Kaluuya. Round of applause, please.
Thank you. Thank you.